This says x squared equals 16. So some number multiplied by itself equals 16. So let's think about what that number can be. Well, I think to myself, well, 4 times 4 is 16. The other thing that's 16, though, if I multiply it by itself, is negative 4. If I do negative 4 times negative 4, that also equals 16. So it turns out there's actually two answers for x here, right? X could equal 4, or x could equal negative 4. And these are both correct answers. Okay, what it looks like when I do this kind of in the algebraic style is I say, oh, I'm going to do inverse operations, right? Like if I have this, if I have x and something's being added to x, I subtract, because subtracting is the opposite of adding, right? Subtracting is the opposite of adding. It's inverse operation. This is squared. The inverse operation of squared is square root. The inverse operation of squared is square root. And when I square root one side, right, so I'm trying to get rid of that squared, so I'm going to square root it. And then when I square root one side, I always have to do the same thing to both sides. So I'm going to square root the other side. So now this square root and squared are inverses, so they cancel each other. I'm left with x by itself. And then the square root of 16, if you look on this paper, see this says plus or minus 4. It's plus or minus 4. What does that mean? That means it can be 4 or it can be negative 4. Okay, so this is what your work is going to look like. And this is why, right, when I take a square root of a number, it can be either positive or negative. So it looks like this, x equals plus or minus 4. And then go ahead and write it out as two separate answers. That's going to help you in a few minutes. Now over here, this problem is different. This says the square root of x equals 9. So the square root of some number equals 9. If I take the square root of some number, right, and the square root, remember, square root means like, what are two numbers that multiply to get this? So like the square root of 25 is 5, right? Or the square root, or it's technically plus or minus 5. The square root of 49 is 7, right? It's what number multiplies by itself to get that number. So what number could I square root and get 9? Well, the algebra way to do it is I say, oh, I have a square root. And I know that square root and squared are inverse operations. So if I want to get rid of square root, I'm going to square it. That leaves me with x by itself. And if I square on the left side, I have to square on the right side. So 9 squared, that means 9 times 9 is 81. And notice here, there's just one answer. There's just one answer, right? If I take 9 and I square it, it's 81. The only number that could go in this square root is 81. Okay, there's no negative 81 here.